A few days later. The next few days pass in a blur. I spend most of my time huddled away in a medical lab, surrounded by white coated technicians who poke and prod at me as though I'm some complicated puzzle that needs solving. Rebecca has booked a whole week of tests. Even though I agree to them, it's starting to irk me a little. I haven't seen the outside world for so long, and being relatively idle is making my brain go a bit stir crazy. This morning, on my way to the cafeteria, I can't help but let my mind run to Unit Bravo. They've kept the distance, as has most everyone in the facility, and I don't know if it's because they're unsure how to deal with me now, or if they have no interest because they don't need to guard me like before. The team of them have bunked down here in guest rooms too, and my gaze flickers over the doors as I turn the corner of the corridor. I make to pass by as usual, but find my steps. uh, we've got bigger things to worry about right now. We're striding forward to pass by. I make to pass by the rooms as I have every morning for the past few days. Unlike the ominous steel doors in the rest of the facility, the guest room doors are wood, though they're still slathered in that same green paint. My gaze barely flashes over the doors. I continue on down the hall, keen to get past them and to the cafeteria. We're hungry. Later that day. Whether it's afternoon or evening, I can't tell. The apocalypse could have happened, and I don't think I would have felt the slightest shudder down here. As I stride down the hallway, more confident in my way after a few days, I pass by one of the many agents who work here. They give a smile of greeting as they pass before glancing down at a small pad in their hands. Clawed hands. Talons curl out of their fingertips, clasping at the edges of the paper. And I'm surprised they can hold it without shredding it. It's certainly not the weirdest thing I've seen while I've been down here. The initial shock and surprise had worn off some time ago, but it's still not something that can just pass me by without notice. This world, it's a lot to take in. I'd been pretty accepting of it all from the start. Sure, hearing that supernatural creatures are secretly working to protect humans and others isn't something you ever expect to hear. It had been pretty cool to find out, though. But now, after having a while to let it sink in and become truly real, I. Hmm. Hmm. I just want to get back to working on the case now that I know the real facts. I might actually get somewhere with it. I might be able to stop the killer prowling about my town. Shaking the thought away, I reach out to push open the door to the common room. Once again, the intense, rich scent of frankincense is the first thing to greet me. The aroma is so strange after the lack of natural scents in the rest of the facility. Unit Bravo and my mother are already waiting inside. The team strewn about the room in the usual way while Rebecca stands to one side. A sudden silence descends over them all as I enter. A gold-trimmed clock clunking the time on the far wall is the only thing to make noise. You wanted to see me? I say, stepping further inside. The warmth and coziness in the common room is such a bizarre shift from the rest of the facility. It's hard not to feel like I'm shutting out another world as I close the door. Rebecca smiles. We've received some of the results of your tests from the science team. My eyes widen. That was fast. The agent agency is nothing but efficient, Nat says, her tone light. Hmm. What did they reveal? I lean against the corner table, the antique looking table lamp wobbling slightly as I do. Straight to the point, Farah says, glancing over at me from her armchair and smiling. You'll fit in well with the rest of the team. Rebecca holds a file in her hand, but doesn't need to look at it as she begins to speak. As we suspected, the mutation in your blood means that a vampire's pheromones will have no use against you. I give a nod. It's a good thing to have confirmed, but it's what else they discovered that had us all reeling. The team lean a little closer, attentions caught. Rebecca smiles. It seems your blood doesn't just stop the pheromone abilities of vampires, but that type of power from all supernatural creatures. I frown. What does that mean? Many supernaturals have mind-altering or pheromone-type abilities of some kind, Nat explains, still obviously surprised at this information. Sirens with their voices, for example. And you are immune to all of them, it would seem. Rebecca says no small amount of happiness in that statement. And what about our physical abilities? Morgan asks from one corner. Is there weirdness hinder those? Rebecca thins her lips, placing the folder down. Unfortunately, we believe the mutation does nothing to alter those. I notice as a small frown of relief settles over Morgan's features, but it's quickly veiled behind a fog of cigarette smoke. Physical abilities, I ask, the information finally settling in my already full mind. Speed, agility, strength, Ava explains. Most supernaturals are stronger than humans. also has sensory abilities, hearing, sight, etc. But the fact there may be more to discover about this mutation is astounding, Rebecca says, true excitement in her voice and lighting her expression. So, how does it work? Farah asks, shifting in the seat to face Rebecca further. That's something we're not sure on, she replies. It does seem to be some natural evolution or mutation. Makes sense, Nat adds, fingers on her chin in thought. Supernaturals have been in this world for a long time now, so it's understandable humans would begin evolving defenses against them, even if they don't know it. There's a collective nod from everyone in the room. Except there only seems to be one left in the evolutionary tree, Farah says, making everyone swing their heads around in my direction. I'm still confused. Why would Murphy want me if these pheromones things don't work? I ask. Good question, Ava says, and I almost topple over at her agreement. We have a couple of theories on that, Rebecca adds, though she hesitates to say anything more. Some I'm not so keen to think about. Has it got something to do with the way they smell different? Morgan asks, voice husky as she continues to puff on her cigarette. Rebecca stiffens. I believe so. Smell different. I'm not sure whether or not to be offended by her statement. Farah smiles, returning her attention to me. Yeah, it's something we all noticed when meeting you. You smell. She pauses, glancing up in thought. I don't know. You just smell tastier than other humans. The words don't exactly help me relax any. Yes, well, Rebecca says, interrupting the heavy quiet about to fall over us. Eva steps closer to Rebecca. And what is going to happen in the meantime? She glances up at her, no longer with the softer expression of my mother, but the harder one of her leader. With the doctor's approval, Jules will return to working on the case, and Unit Bravo are officially assigned to their protection until this is over. You will continue to work together to catch Murphy, but Jules cannot go near him. This should certainly be interesting. Farah chuckles. Way more fun than our usual missions. I arch a brow at the reply. Where do we start? Farah asks. Murphy's got to know we're onto him now. Agreed, Rebecca says. I've had agents watching the hospital where he was working and he hasn't returned. It seems he must have left in a hurry. Maybe he left something behind if he was in a rush, I say, thoughts of the case beginning to once again take precedence in my mind. It's nice to have something to focus on. She nods. My thinking too. It's at least somewhere to start. After gathering up the folder, she begins to make her way towards the door. Murphy is still a threat, one we can't fully gauge the strength of. Be careful. Her gaze lands on me as she says that. The past few days have also been mostly absent of her presence, except for a few visits. My guess is that she wanted to give me space to deal with all of it, as the vampires had. It also might have had something to do with my reaction to her after all of this. It was pretty calm, considering everything she told me. Though now, after a while to let it all sink, Hmm. Sure, smile at her. I'm coming to understand. It's not all her fault. I mean, nothing's really her fault. Oh, I guess partly it depends on where the blood mutation has come from. If the blood mutation has occurred after my birth, then none of it is her fault. If it's occurred because she's my mother, then we're going into territory where some blame might be on her. I offer a smile at her obvious concern, warmed by it. It's been hard, but I've come to terms with the fact all of this isn't entirely her fault. Surprise flickers across her features before she returns to smile, her eyes brighten, and with the smile still in place, she strides to the door and heads out. When I glance back to the room, I find Unit Bravo staring over at me. Something wrong? I ask, curving a brow at their expressions. Farah holds up her hands. Just a sweet little moment to cherish is all. Enough, Farah, Ava chides, though there is no real strength behind these words. When the team leader throws me a glance, there is only relief in the gaze. The expression is gone before I can think on it further. It's the first time I've been alone with the whole team for a while now. The atmosphere is much tenser than it had been before I was told everything. Thank God we'll be out of this place soon, Farah says, following with a relief-filled breath. Back to the real world. It feels like we've been trapped down here. My mind continues to play out the conversation that just happened, and I look towards them with a confused frown. So these physical abilities you guys have, I balance myself on the arm of a nearby chair. What sort of things can vampires actually do? Is it really like the stories? Morgan scoffs, almost choking on her puff of smoke. Wouldn't confuse us for creatures in those books. Nat ignores her, coming to stand a little closer. Some are the same. Strength, speed, agility, that kind of thing. Want to know about bats. Is there anything about bats in there? There's nothing about bats. I'm disappointed. How about garlic? What about it? Ava asks, and I can't tell if she's joking or being serious. Nat chuckles. I quite enjoy it, actually. You mean it's not like poison to you guys? I ask. She shakes her head. No, though that's not to say there aren't substances that could incapacitate us. Which you have no need to know of, Ava interrupts, Nat tensing at the interruption. Well, that's not necessarily true. I could mistakenly bring a substance to you that could incapacitate you. I wouldn't use anything against you without reason. Something we appreciate, Nat says, though she doesn't seem to be in agreement with the others who all tense. Do you burn at the sight of crosses, holy water? It's all very interesting, Farah replies, but that's about as much notice as we take. None of that stuff works? No, Nat says, and I notice an amused smile tug at the corners of her lips. Ava throws a narrow stare in my direction. Disappointed? No, just curious, I say, and she quickly shifts her focus away. No cross-wielding at Murphy, got it. Farah chuckles, as does Nat. Probably a wise idea, Ava replies, a hint of amusement on her tone, even if it may make for a memorable scene. She actually smiles at me then, an expression I can't help but return just because it's so unexpected. Do you have reflections in mirrors and things? No, detective, I couldn't live without seeing my reflection at least once an hour, Farah replies, eyes bright with humor. I hold back a chuckle. I see. You'll quickly learn many of the old legends really are just legends, Nat adds. Is there anything that the stories got right? Farah shrugs. You'll have to stick around and find out. This time I can't help but half smile. I suppose I will. Do you drink blood? The room falls into a horrible quiet, one only broken by my breath, which is suddenly a lot sharper than it had been. Yes, the simple reply comes from Ava, her voice steady and unwavering, matching the stern stare as she is focused on me. But not usually directly from humans or anything, Farah interrupts. The agency provides blood bags, more for some of us than others. Right, Nat? I glance over at Nat, who takes a deep breath. She's obviously trying to remain unaffected by the strange comment. It's not just vampires, Morgan remarks, breaking the odd air. She cocks her head to one side. Lots of supernaturals indulge in blood. Let's leave it there for now, shall we? Nat suggests with a light tone, though her words seem tense. I nod. I mean, if they've been out in sunlight all day, then you probably need to ask about that one, do you? If there's other ways to kill vampires too. Boost of senses, we know that's true. What exactly is it that these pheromones do? Nat shrugs. They can help us control humans and some other supernaturals. Except you, of course. Oh, I say, my voice tense. Is that all? Morgan draws in a long breath of her cigarette. It puts those we use them on at ease and makes them very suggestible. Suppose it's a predator thing. Easier for us to get a bite. She adds a dark smile to the words. Nat throws her a warning glare and then looks back to me with a smile. We have little use of them. The agency provides us with what we need. The only time we really use them are on missions, and even then we try not to. Morgan and Farah both scoff at that. I give a slow nod, unsure how to feel about the idea. I just don't get it. Why don't any of you sparkle? What? Nat asks, frowning. Why don't any of you sparkle? This time the chuckle edges out with the sword. My amusement is joined by Farah, who laughs loudly from her place. The only other reaction I receive is from Morgan, who glowers at me with such hostility I'm surprised it's not burning through me. Oh, come on, I say in defense, raising my hands. You can't expect me not to mention it. Nat half smiles, lips pursing. Feel better for asking? Totally, I smile in return. Alright, well, I'd better get ready to leave. A lot of stuff to pack, have you? Farah says with a choking smile. I shake my head, trying to suppress the smile myself. I guess I'll be seeing you guys around. See you soon, Detective. Nat calls as I turn to leave. Maybe things will be different this time, now that I know everything. Hopefully the team will be more willing to let me in as we continue working on the case. I can't help but hope anyway. And there would be the next chapter. But as I just saw, we're sort of at an episode length where it's not quite long enough for an episode, I feel, sort of about 14.5 minutes. So I thought, before I sort of cut like the next 2 minutes into the next episode, which would be kind of stupid because there'll be no reasonable cutoff point, we'll take a look at our stats. We're about halfway through the game, I think. So let's have a look at that. We're apparently very intimidating, which is curious. I would have thought of myself as very charming, but okay. Apparently also very impulsive, and not that cautious. Also not exactly what I would have expected, but okay. Very sarcastic. That falls in line with what I would have thought. Slightly more friendly than stoic, all right, and pretty easygoing. Yeah, that makes sense generally. More so in the heart than in the mind. Okay. Very optimistic, apparently. I guess. I wouldn't really know what those choices are based on. Might come into play here that we're like, vampires are fine. It doesn't really matter. I think some of those percentages have come from there. And apparently I'm a pretty good team player. Is there anything, what about personal? What happens? Oh, there's professional stats too, okay. People skills, apparently 50%. I don't know if that's still the standard or if we just have somehow completely walked the line in the middle through everything. Apparently, we have no abilities in combat, some science, technology, and pretty good deduction knowledge, and we're pretty much by the book. We don't really bend the rules much. What about our team stats? I think that's all just stuff we already know. We've got our team here, 4 people, and we know all of them. And our relationship stats, okay. Ava, 4 friends, 0 flirts. Natalie, 5 friends, 0 flirt. Bra, 0 flirt, 3 friend. And Morgan, 1 flirt, 3 friend. Okay. Whatever that may mean. Alright. So, I'm end the episode here now. We spent an additional 2 minutes talking about our stats. See you in the next one.